What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as we approach 50k, which I just noticed today. Crazy stuff. I can't believe we're almost there. I mean, we started this channel, I think it was around February, March last year or so, and we went through the old entitled parents phase, and then I had a dip where I took a bit of a break and I was in and out of actually making videos and things like that, not consistently like I do now. And then the start of this year, we got back into the grind of making videos again, and we seem to be flying up at the moment, and I'm enjoying the ride, and I'm real thankful to you guys for doing so. But anyway, before I'm already waffling on too much, but yesterday over on YouTube we had 5 new members. We had Anna Tuck, Jickery Jokery. Oh, you're testing me with these names. Sandy Gardner with the rejoin, Leon and Godless Melanesia. Thank you so much for your support. It's really amazing of you to do so right now, and you know I say it in every video, so I'm not going to keep saying it, but it's just absolutely amazing of you, so thank you so much. And for everyone taking the time out of your day to be here, it's just absolutely amazing of you. And with that being said, let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for getting my 20 female pregnant sister, 34 female, kicked out of our house? So my sister is 34, had a full-time job since she was 18, but spends all the money she earns, so has no money saved up. She also still lives at home, as do I, 20 female. We're not close at all due to the age difference, but also due to the fact that she's a very entitled person. A few months ago she found out she was pregnant. Everyone was happy. My mum suggested the idea that she should maybe move to a place of her own or move in with her boyfriend. She disagreed and said she didn't have enough money for that. Nothing more was said about it, though I could tell my mum was getting stressed about the prospect of living with a baby. She told her it would be wise for her to try and look for places, but my sister said that my mum always hated her. She also said she should be happy she's going to be close to her grandson. She's paid money to my parents to live here for around 5 years now, and my mum hasn't asked for it for the duration of the pregnancy, but she has been spending all her money on baby supplies. She's still working full time, but again, has still been saving nothing. I asked her if she was thinking of moving out, but she dismissed me and said I always hated her and why even bother asking. I told her she had been working full time for 16 years, and what did she have to show for it? She told on me to my parents, and whilst they agreed with me, they also said I shouldn't have said that to my pregnant sister and I should show some compassion. Whilst saying that, they've also told her she can't live here when she has the baby. She needs to get on her own 2 feet. She said to them how dare they kick her out when they know what she's been going through. But my mum said that she herself had 3 kids at her age and had been living independently since she was 20 and managed it all. My sister has blamed me for all this, as she usually does. I'm being told I'm jealous of her. I don't know where she gets this sense of entitlement from. Was I wrong for telling her what I thought? Well, the pessimist in me says that she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows that she's 34, you know, she's pregnant, and she knows as soon as that baby comes, she's got free childcare in that house all day long. And also living rent-free because she can have the great excuse of, look, I'm looking after a child now, so I need to buy clothes, I need to buy baby supplies and all that kind of good stuff. She just knows she's got an amazing support network set up right there in the house. But the problem is, if they don't want to do it, then, you know, it's entitlement. It turns into entitlement. If the grandparents don't want to have a full-time active role in the grandchild's life, which I can't blame them for, then, you know, yeah, she needs to find different accommodation and things like that. She's 34 years old, man. And I know some people need help in life to get through things, but sometimes it's just taking the piss. I mean, she's got enough time to do it right now, but she doesn't seem like she wants to. But let's have a look at some of the comments below to see what they say. Avocado says, not the arsehole, your sister is well and truly an adult and is starting her own family. Your parents have been very clear with her that they want her to find her own home. At this point, your sister is either taking advantage or she's really scared and struggling and doesn't want to admit it. And that's a good point, actually. You know, I didn't really take into consideration about her being scared and struggling. Jeannie Beanie says, not the arsehole, but also confusing. It's not clear how you had anything to do with getting your sister kicked out. Your parents are, rightly in my opinion, telling her it's time to get her shit together, which has nothing to do with you. There's clearly drama and bad blood between the two of you, and it seems like she's trying to use that to make her problems your fault, which is BS. My advice, not that you asked for it, is to make moves to establish financial independence and get out of this house of weirdness ASAP. Mutant Blake says, I would have personally stayed out of it, as the parents seem to have it under control. Everyone sucks here. She is an extra large asshole. Copper Rabbit says, not the asshole. You didn't get her kicked out. The timing just made it feel that way. Your parents don't want to parent their grandchild and they're nipping it in the bud. It's not surprising your sister sees this as a bad thing, or she's trying to blame you, but it's for the best. Hopefully once you get settled, you guys move past it. Congratulations on your upcoming niece or nephew. Now I turn it to you guys. What would you do in this situation if you was being blamed for it? If you was being blamed for that person being kicked out of the house, how would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Feels Like Not My Issue. Am I the arsehole for not punishing my daughter for mocking her cousin? My wife and her younger sister are best friends. As a result, when our middle daughter and her cousin were born around the same time, my wife really expected them to also be friends. With 16 years of hindsight, I can say with certainty that the expectation was misplaced. Nothing happened in particular, my daughter just doesn't like her cousin. My wife keeps pushing the relationship. This includes making my daughter spend time with her cousin during family gatherings, inviting her cousin on trips, forcing my daughter to call her. We're pretty sure I'm the favourite parent, a fact that keeps my ego well inflated, and therefore my apathy towards the situation is not well received by my wife. From my perspective, this isn't important, and I do not possess the ability to make two teenagers become friends. I'm also very sure that trying to push this kind of knuckle-headed stuff makes kids not want to speak to you. This is where I'm probably the arsehole. Yesterday, my wife forced my daughter to video call her cousin. My daughter rejected the request, and my wife told her, unless you have a valid reason for disliking your cousin, you will do this because we're family. The call occurred. This morning we woke to a PowerPoint presentation titled Valid Reasons to Dislike Cousin, using clips from the Zoom call, segments including Why is Cousin's voice so grating, a music theory approach, a case study, conversations that provide no value, rethinking the idea that there are no dumb questions, etc. With the benefit of a couple of hours hindsight, it was a very cruel takedown of her cousin's entire personality. My wife was furious. My eldest daughter and I lost our shit laughing. My wife is demanding I support her in punishing my daughter for bullying her cousin. I have refused because I feel this whole situation wouldn't have occurred if she didn't push the relationship. But I'm starting to have second thoughts because it was very mean. Am I the arsehole? Hell no, you can't force two teenagers to like each other. They're either going to or they're not going to, and there's no... I wonder how the cousin feels as well about this. I wonder if she's also being forced into this sort of relationship, because there must have been someone else forcing her on the other end, like of a Zoom call, to make her get onto it too. But forcing friendships is absolutely one of the worst things to do, and I've personally seen that it can sometimes lead to sort of like bullying behavior. But in this case, the problem here is your wife. She's disrespecting your daughter's boundaries by her saying, no, I don't want to be friends. I don't want to get involved with that person. And she's saying, no, you have to, and forcing her into it. She's disrespecting those boundaries, and she needs to be told. Imagine what the wife would think if she was forced to be friends with someone she didn't really get on with. I bet she just wouldn't do it, because she's an adult. So why should a teenager have to do it too? But let's have a look at some of the comments to see what they say. River Redhead says, not the arsehole, your wife is the arsehole for forcing a 16-year-old to spend time with someone she doesn't like. The 16-year-old response to your wife, she didn't tell the cousin this I presume, is as hilarious as the fault of the adults forcing their relationship. I'm also not convinced that the cousin is down with this either, considering that the daughter is so clearly unhappy with spending time with her. And OP also replied to their post saying, I'd also like to say I feel incredibly bad about laughing. She just started with a music theory lecture about some special discordant chord. Then, she had a video of the chord that immediately went into a Zoom clip of her cousin producing the same notes. I just couldn't hold it in. And Metal as Fuck says, not the arsehole unless your daughter sent this presentation to her cousin or shared it with anybody else. It isn't bullying. What is she being punished for? Doing what your wife asked and gave reasons for why she disliked her cousin? Having no chemistry / a dislike for another person, not wanting to spend her time on that person? For having an opinion that differs from her mother's? Talk to your daughter and make sure her presentation is deleted, as it would be terrible should others get their hands on it. Your daughter is almost an adult and your wife is pushing her away with her demands. By the way, your daughter sounds wonderful. Your wife, not so much. And Quark fan says, hold on, I have to stop laughing. You nor your daughter are the arseholes here. Your wife is. However, your daughter must delete the PowerPoint presentation and never let anyone know she made it. If it comes to the cousin's attention, it would be beyond hurtful. Your wife needs to give up this dream of the girls being besties that aren't an extension of the dolls she and her cousin used to play with. Your daughter should kindly ghost the other girl and be pleasant at gatherings. Should it come up, your wife needs to be direct with the other mum and say, the girls don't have much in common and aren't as close as we are. Absolutely, that presentation needs to go because it would be absolutely devastating to the other person. But like we've been saying, you can't force someone to do that. But what would you do in this situation? How would you deal with it if you was the father? Would you approach the wife and sit down and explain to her? Or would you deal with it in a different way? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. Now I'm going to say a warning before this next story, before we get into it, because it involves autism, but someone describing it with the R word. So if you want to skip this, please do, because I know that this can be very painful for some people to hear. So just that warning there for you guys. The next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for making my mum cry when she called my child retarded? I, 38 male, have a daughter, 11, who was recently diagnosed with autism. We thought it'd be wise to tell this to my aunt, in-laws, and my parents so they can be expectant of any complications. My daughter frequently goes to her aunt's to see her cousin on a Thursday, since they lived only about 15 minutes from where we did. Sometimes we leave my daughter with my in-laws, or sometimes we leave them with my parents. This is just in case you wanted to know. I have to start by saying that my mum is the type of person who hates being told that she's wrong. My dad would often lose arguments with her when I was younger because she'd cry or throw a toddler level tantrum, and it was honestly just tiring for him. As I became an adult, she became more dependent on me and will repeat the waterworks treatment she did with my dad if I refused to do something for her, or tell her she was wrong in something. Essentially, to my mum, telling her she is wrong is the equivalent to murdering somebody in public. Anyway, main story, we informed my aunt and in-laws about my daughter's autism. They were pretty understanding of it. The real problem started with my mum. When we got around to informing my parents, my dad was okay, but my mum got upset, asking me why I didn't find this out earlier. I honestly didn't know how to respond to that, as I wasn't even sure if that was a rational question. But then she continued saying that the child is crazy, saying that a child that is crazy will be tough to raise and I should probably give her up for adoption. I told her I wasn't going to do that, and she blew a fuse. She told me that I was being ridiculous, that I would end up being a bad parent, and that she did not want a retarded grandchild. I saw red. Admittedly, it was hard for me not to lose it when she made that adoption and crazy comment, but I lost it. I told her that she was a fucking cruel piece of shit, and she always has been, and that she can't comment on my parenting style when her parenting was less than terrible. She bursted into tears, asking me how I could be so horrible to her after everything she has done for me. I point blank told her, you never done jack shit. My daughter was in the room watching cartoons on her tablet so she couldn't hear me, and I hung up. Now I'm wondering if I went too far because my dad called me to tell me that I should apologise to my mum in order to keep the peace. A lot of my family members are on mum's side and are just telling me to be the bigger person, and that my grandfather has Asperger's and abused her as a child, so that's why she may have said that. My wife agrees that there's no excuse to what she said and I shouldn't apologise, but I don't know. So lay it out thick, Reddit. Am I the arsehole? Hell no, you're not the arsehole. And if I would go no contact immediately. If picturing myself in that position and having a child who was diagnosed with autism, and then one of my relatives came along and said that child is the R word, I would, well, I'd kick the shit out of him for one. Side note, violence is never the answer. But then I would definitely go no contact with them. Absolutely. You can't have that sort of stuff going on in your life. I know from the last couple of lines there that she may be traumatized from her past, but calling your child that, I'm absolutely, I'm feeling myself boiling. My chest is burning right now from this. Feel myself getting so angry for this person. Wow. Let's go to the comments before I overheat. Fleet Dancer says, not the arsehole, but if you ever allow her around your child again, you will not only be an arsehole, you'll be a failure as a parent. Space Caterpillar says, not the arsehole, there is no excuse for what she said. I don't care who abused her as a child, she's a full-grown adult now responsible for herself. If I was in your position, she would never see my daughter again, and I don't say things like this lightly, but she literally told you to give your daughter up for adoption just because of her health issues. That's unforgivable. ALH says, not the arsehole, your daughter is 11. It's mind-blowing to me that your mother hasn't formed enough of a bond with her that she could resort to a full-blown adopting your child out. That's a red flag. You absolutely should not keep the peace. You should not let your daughter around her, period. I can't imagine how she would treat her or the things she would say. Get her out of your life. Protect your daughter. You will heal whatever wounds you have from your mum by raising an amazing child and protecting her from your mum. Megadude62 says, oh god, not the arsehole, so hard. Your mother sounds atrocious, and while it's sad she was abused by her father, she can't take that on your child. This woman needs therapy fast. Also, I would recommend not allowing her to go over there anymore, because who knows what your mum will do to her. Now, put yourself in OP's shoes and you had a relative and they said that to your child and said that they want them to go out for adoption or whatever. How would you deal with that? Oh god, I'm so hot from this right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And let's move on because I am cooking. Whew. And our next story is from Burner. Am I the arsehole for yelling at my girlfriend because she's too environmentally friendly? I know the title sounds bad, but please hear me out. My 28 male girlfriend, 29 female, is very environmentally conscious, which I also agree is a great thing to be. However, she often takes it too far in minuscule things, and I have finally reached my breaking point. I can probably name many more instances, but here are a few. A few months ago while driving to dinner, there was an accident on the motorway, and we were stuck in traffic on a hot day. It was over 33 degrees that day. That's 91 for you Americans, and we were stuck in the traffic baking in the car for almost 2 hours. During this, she refused to turn the car on to have AC, not because of money but because it was bad for the environment. I mean, I get it, running your car while standing still is a waste, but when it's that hot? I ended up showing up to dinner drenched in sweat, extremely uncomfortable, and I had a terrible time, but I kept my mouth shut and we continued on. I have worked remotely from home since the start of Corona, while she still goes to work every day. Since we were getting into winter months here, we almost never see the sun during the day. It's almost always overcast. One day she came home early and saw that I had the light on during the day. If you ever work from home and it's dark all the time, you know how much it can influence your mood and productivity. Plus, who wants to be sitting in the dark all day, right? Wrong. She got extremely upset that I was wasting energy. Mind you, we have super efficient Philips LED lights. I told her that I only waste a few cents a day in energy, but of course she refused to acknowledge that she may be wrong. Yesterday was finally my breaking point. I had taken advantage of Black Friday and bought 4 items that I've been wanting from 4 different stores, saving almost €200. When I told her about my exciting purchases, she got extremely upset that I would purchase things from 4 different stores, as that was 4 different deliveries, which is bad for the environment, and said I should have brought it all from one place, which would have been way more expensive. I had enough. I flipped out on her and told her that if she cares so much about the environment, she should go protest the big companies that are actually contributing to global warming and stop nagging me about it. She got upset and left. So Reddit, I know the environment is important, but am I the arsehole? Now, like OP says, I know the environment is very, very important and we need to do our bit to look after it, but having to sit in the dark all day when you're working from home, hell no. As I say, I pretty much look at a screen for most of the day, and I know that's pretty unhealthy, but sitting in the dark also, it's painful for your eyes, it's not good for you, and it just brings you down, man. You gotta switch that light on once in a while to get some light in here. And it just seems like your girlfriend is picking out what she wants from your life to criticize. I wonder what she does during her day that is environmentally damaging that you could nitpick on. And I mean, OP does sound like they are conscious of the environment and they do their own bit in their own way, and that's what we need to do. It's all about sort of moderation in the end. But don't get me wrong as well, I do see a point that if everyone contributes a little bit, it adds up to something massive. But yeah, I do get what the girlfriend is saying. But let's read some comments on this one. Claire Not a Bear says, not the arsehole, but you know who sucks? People who put all the blame for climate change / environmental crisis on individuals. Of course we'd all be doing our part, it sounds like you are, but it sounds like your girlfriend is the sort of person who shames people for occasionally using a disposable bag, or taking the elevator when you should climb 12 flights of stairs. But guess what? It barely matters. The vast majority of pollution comes from large corporations and poor systemic practices. If your girlfriend wants to channel her rage at someone, maybe she can work on climate change lobbying or activism, or organise for better practices in your municipality or region. But putting blame on individuals is not only rude, it doesn't actually do anything other than virtue signalling. Mars Needs Rabbit says, not the arsehole, life is about balance, and constantly criticising your partner for wastefulness isn't going to accomplish anything positive. I Fart a Lot Too says, your girlfriend is cherry picking environmental concerns, and this doesn't sound like environmentalism as much as it sounds like being compulsive and controlling. Unless the two of you are completely living off the grid, growing your own food, walking and not driving, etc. She leaves a carbon footprint all the time, and you are the doormat she is wiping her feet on every day. I think you need to ask yourself why you have to put up with this for so long. You need to start speaking up regularly and setting some limits on her. It's worth the argument to preserve your self-worth and your relationship, not the arsehole. Whenever I see I Fart a Lot in the comments, I'm always like, that's a good comment, but then the username is just like, dude. Love you, dude, really, though. Never Seek to Tell says, not the arsehole. I agree with you, the things she's upset about seem ridiculous, but I think you can actually just have different mindsets about how to achieve the same goal. You think big picture, and she feels like she can't ignore the small things. I do see her point of view as well. Some people feel like it's their duty to do everything within their capability, and really believe the small things can make a big difference. I think you guys need to have a talk about where the line should be drawn. You can't realistically go through life like this. And Happy Lucy D says, there is a difference between wasting electricity and using electricity. You use electricity to turn on a light when it's dark out, no matter what time of day, and you need to see. You waste electricity when you insist upon using an incandescent bulb because no one is going to tell you what bulbs to use in your own house, or when you turn lights on in areas where no one currently needs them. She needs to get a grip and use common sense, not the arsehole. And Eins 2 says, not the arsehole. Even when I order 4 items or from Amazon or Walmart or Coles or whatever, I usually get at least 2 or 3 different deliveries anyway. Also, does she think that her office shouldn't turn on the lights during the daytime? Who works in the dark? If you can't have a serious talk with her about boundaries, like I'm willing to do X for the environment but not Y, and have her agree to stop nagging you otherwise, I don't know how this relationship is going to survive. Now, what would you do in this situation? Now, like I was saying, I'm not hating on being environmentally friendly at all, and I'm all for it, and I know we can all do our part. And I do understand small things add to big things, right? If enough people do them. One of the funniest things, I can't remember where I heard it, but that I heard, and in the UK, you're encouraged to wash out the jam jars and fucking and like the tins and stuff after they're done to go into recycling. In our local area, from what we heard for a long time, is that none of it went to recycling anyway. We was encouraged to do it, but it still didn't to the recycling because there wasn't a recycling plant set up. So it still went to landfill. So here I am washing a fucking jar out, a jam jar out. And then you got places like, no offense US, but I'm going to use you an example right now, with their massive V8 cars powering down the motorway all day. And here's me with an empty jam jar cleaning it out. It just seems ridiculous. But what do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. Once again, guys, Americans, I'm not hating on you. I love you, really. You know that. You know that. I hope you have a great day ahead of you, and a huge thank you for being here every day, for the support, for the member support. It's absolutely amazing of you. You guys have been absolutely smashing it for me just lately. And we are slowly approaching that 200 member mark, and I am so thankful. I was bawling my eyes out earlier thinking about that. I've sort of made myself a promise, and I know this is an extreme promise. If I ever get to 1,000 members, I'm quitting my job just like that. Like, boom, I'm quitting it. Obviously, I give them some notice. I'm not that much of an arsehole. But it gives me that proper stability then that I can, just go full time. And, yeah, the dream, right? But thank you so much for everything you do. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm having a great time right now. We're approaching 50k and I haven't even got nothing special planned. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to deal with this. I've never been there before. What do I do? I was thinking of maybe doing like a day in the life video or something and show you getting up, doing the editing process, showing my office, maybe a little walk around the office, like a life blog kind of thing. Let me know your thoughts on that, or if you have any other ideas, maybe a question and answer session or something. I don't know. Maybe just an extra long video that will premiere, and then we can have a little discussion live and stuff like that. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you cheeky so-and-so, in the next one. Much love, guys. Goodbye.